I'm coming on today with a very specific message. It has been months since our mom was taken from us. Our family is in agony. We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed. We have done our part, and we will never stop looking for her. We will always ache for her and feel that hole in our hearts. The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place, and I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing. Help us bring this situation to an end. For all of us, no matter where we've been and what we've done, I believe there is always a way home.
If you were listening closely, you heard the moment she stopped negotiating and started begging for a body. 5 words. Tell us where to look for her. Not return her. Not let her come home. Tell us where to look. That is not the language of a ransom demand still in play. That is the language of someone who has accepted the worst possible outcome and is now fighting for the one thing she has left. The truth. I almost missed it. I replayed the video twice before the shift landed. I've covered this case from the moment Nancy Guthrie was taken from her Tucson home in the middle of the night. And I've watched every plea her daughter Savannah has made since February. The one she posted on July 27th is not like the others. The words are different. The structure is different. And once you see what's actually happening under the surface, the entire investigation looks different too. I'll walk you through it. Nancy Guthrie was 84 years old, a mother, a grandmother, fiercely loved, funny and sharp, but physically fragile. She could not walk 50 yards unassisted. On February 1st, a masked figure appeared on her doorstep in the early morning hours, flashlight in his mouth, armed. He was inside her home for roughly 45 minutes. When it was over, Nancy was gone. A Ring doorbell captured his image, but not his identity. In the days that followed, at least 2 letters surfaced, sent to the family and to media outlets, demanding millions in cryptocurrency. The FBI has never publicly authenticated them, but we now know some of what they contained. A reference to a white smartwatch on the floor near her bed, a destroyed floodlight in the backyard, a Bitcoin address, and a warning that law enforcement could not help.
Also listed at the bottom of the note for where the money could be deposited. Now, the FBI hasn't publicly said whether that note's legit. NBC News has reported there was a second alleged ransom note sent to media outlets that reportedly had said that Nancy Guthrie had died. That note did not request payment or give an apology, but NBC said it expressed regrets over Nancy's passing. Now, there are questions on whether these ransom notes have any validity, whether they're real. There have been several others sent to TMZ, and it's unclear whether those have any sort of validity to them. July 1st, Reuters, though, did publish a report saying that FBI sources told them that they do not believe the letters are authentic. NBC, though, in their reporting has said that they have sources that claim that it is possible that those letters are real. Again,
those details only someone inside the house would know.
One that was sent to media outlets in the days after Nancy Guthrie was taken. You have this crime reporter, Brianna Whitney. She works for Crime Junkie now. And I remember when she was working as a local TV reporter in Arizona when these notes came in, like she read through some key parts of this ransom note. You know, it starts with, "Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom. And once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days." And it is interesting that in reporting that note, she says that the ransom amount, which had been reported as they wanted it in cryptocurrency, but they also wanted it in US dollars. They made it very specific. And that opens the door, at least to me, that we're talking about potentially something in Mexico, because that is just about an hour away from Tucson where Nancy Guthrie lived.
Yeah, so here's my problem with the whole ransom thing. I've never worked a kidnapping, and I've worked a few of them, where a letter wasn't left or instant communication was not left for the family with specific instructions. This is hours and hours later, days later, when the letter, or a day later when the letter came in, right?
Right.
That's a long time for a kidnapper not to communicate with family. To me, I've never seen one that wasn't left on. I never saw a kidnapping where there was never a note left on scene or immediate communication with the family or whoever they're trying to get the ransom from. And I've never seen one where there wasn't instant proof of life. So it could be Mexico. I mean, Mexico, like you said, is only an hour away, but I believe Nancy died pretty quick after the incident, or maybe even during it.
That fact alone moved this case into a completely different category. It meant the kidnapper had been in that room long enough to see small things, to catalog them, and then to use them as proof of life and leverage. Savannah Guthrie posted her first direct video message to the person who took her mother on February 4th. She described Nancy as a woman of goodness and light, and she ended with a line that stopped a lot of people cold dead. Talk to her, and you'll see. It was an almost verbatim echo of the plea from Silence of the Lambs, which immediately raised the question, was this a daughter's desperate hope, or was it a carefully calibrated move? Written with the help of FBI behavioral analysts who know that mirroring a kidnapper's perceived narrative can build a bridge. I don't think that parallel was accidental. I think it was a first attempt at psychological engagement, a way to make the person holding her mother see her as a human being and not just a transaction.
Take a look at this one. This was the first time she spoke to them on February 4th.
Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She is funny and spunky and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
So when you watch that video, there's a very interesting part of it. Quote, talk to her and you'll see. Now, when that came out, there were a lot of people online who drew parallels to the 1991 movie Silence of the Lambs. And in that movie, there is a senator who makes a televised plea to the bad guy in the film, Buffalo Bill, for the safe return of her daughter. And the quote in Silence of the Lambs is, Catherine is very gentle and kind. Talk to her and you'll see. Now, it is unclear at this point.
But the videos that followed shifted. On February 7th, Savannah said, "We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay." On February 15th, she told the kidnapper, "It is never too late and you are not lost or alone."
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Then she made this plea on February 15th.
And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. And we believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never
Each of
too
those statements was built around an exchange. We will pay. You are not alone. Return her. The assumption underneath every word was that Nancy was still alive and that a deal was still possible. Then 5 months of silence. 5 months in which no one saw a new plea. No one heard a direct address. And that is the first thing you have to ask yourself: why now? Because July 27th was not an anniversary. It was a random Monday. Something broke that silence. The Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, told NBC the very next day that investigators have so much DNA to sort through, and so much in terms of video evidence to look at. He said, "I'm still positive we're going to resolve this case." Resolve, not solve, not clear. Resolve. That word choice sat oddly with a lot of people, including retired detectives who have been following this case closely. In law enforcement, you resolve a case by bringing it to a conclusion, and that conclusion is not always an arrest. Sometimes it is the recovery of remains. Sometimes it is a death notification dressed in official language.
And it's never too late.
So we reached out to Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos for an update on this case. He did make some interesting comments to NBC News about the case in a story that aired on Tuesday, July 28th, today. The sheriff said, quote, "We have so much DNA to sort through. We have so much in terms of video evidence to look at." He also said, quote, "I'm still positive that we're going to resolve this case." In recent weeks, there has been some new reporting out there about the alleged ransom notes that were sent reportedly to the Guthrie family and some media outlets in Arizona in the days after Nancy was taken. Now, you might remember there were two, which the FBI is still reportedly investigating for authenticity. A crime reporter named Brianna Whitney, who worked as a TV reporter in Arizona at the time Nancy Guthrie went missing, just shared parts of what she says was in the first ransom note on the Crime Junkie podcast. So I want to read for you what she says the ransom note said. She says it begins
Now watch Savannah's July 27th video again with that possibility in mind. She begins with something no previous message contained. "It has been months since our mom was taken from us. Our family is in agony. We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed. That is not a setup for another negotiation. That is a statement of stasis." And then the line that caused me to stop the video and start it over twice. "And I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her." Why would she tell a kidnapper who demanded millions of dollars that he tried to do things the right way? That phrase doesn't apply to abduction. It applies to someone who followed a set of rules, a code, a process that both sides understood. The only thing that fits is a ransom negotiation. If the first note was genuine, the one that said Nancy would be held for a maximum of 7 days and released once payment was received, then tried to do things the right way, maybe acknowledging that the kidnapper attempted to run a transaction, not a murder. Something went wrong. Maybe Nancy's health failed. Maybe the payment structure broke down. But the kidnapper attempted a framework that he believed would end with her release. Savannah's words recognize that attempt, and then immediately pivot to the present reality. She is not coming home alive. She needs to be found. Look at the specific language. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. In every earlier message, she asked for her mother's return, for her release, for her to be brought home. Now the request is for a location, a place to search. That shift is seismic, and I do not believe it is accidental. It suggests the family has received information, possibly from law enforcement, possibly from the forensic evidence that is finally being processed, that has changed the nature of their hope. They are no longer asking for a reunion. They are asking for a grave. The sheriff's statement about DNA and video evidence is the second piece of this puzzle. 45 minutes inside a home, a bite light in the suspect's mouth, saliva, skin cells, hairs, fibers. Every second of stress leaves a biological trace. If the scene was processed correctly, there will be DNA profiles that do not belong to the family. The process of elimination, comparing those profiles to family members, caregivers, gardeners, anyone with legitimate access, takes time. 6 months is a long time for the public, but it is not an unreasonable window when you are separating a single foreign profile from dozens of known ones. The fact that the sheriff specifically mentioned DNA suggests they have isolated something, and the fact that he paired it with video evidence tells me they may be reconstructing the suspect's movements far beyond the porch, using ring cameras, traffic cameras, and commercial surveillance to stitch together a timeline that leads somewhere. Maybe to a crossing point. Maybe to a location where a body could be hidden.
Point 6 months later.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the DNA on this, you look at let's look at what they released on the video. The only video we see is the guy on the porch, right?
Yeah.
He's got a flashlight in his mouth. Now, I've used bite lights. They're bite lights, so you put them in your mouth. I use them. You're going to have saliva on that. You're going to have saliva on the Ring doorbell. You're going to have saliva on the foliage you pick up. There's going to be DNA transfer there, a lot of it. And even if you're wearing gloves, it doesn't stop you from putting that on the glove and then transferring it to something else. We believe that possibly, and we don't know this is all speculation, they were in that house for 45 minutes based on the video from the Nest camera, Ring camera, whichever it was. There's no way you're in a house for 45 minutes unless you're in a spacesuit where you're not leaving some trace DNA in there. You're in a high stress situation. There's going to be sweat. You may have to use the bathroom. You may touch a counter. You know what I mean? So if it was processed properly, there could be quite a bit of DNA. You've already gotten samples from the family to eliminate family members or to eliminate profiles found in the house. Okay. It's the oddball profile that you're looking for. But now think about this. Who comes in the house? Are there cleaning ladies that come in the house? Are there gardeners that are on the property? Are there someone that takes care of the pool? All of that has to be considered as well. So 6 months of going through DNA, it seems like a real long time. With all the work that has to be done, it not necessarily is, but 6 months
now,
you should have some.
Before we go further, I want you to do something. Pause this video and pull up Savannah's February 4th plea and this July 27th plea side by side. Listen to them back to back. Then come to the comments and tell me which one you think was written with the help of a behavioral analyst, and which one you think was written by a daughter who has been told something she cannot unhear. I have my answer. I want to know yours.
Chicago Police Department. Always great to talk to you on these cases. What do you make of the latest message that Savannah Guthrie's put on her social media?
There was a lot of interesting things in that message, Chris. One of the things that struck me right off the bat is one of the first lines of the message that said, "We've done our part." What could that possibly mean? I mean, to me, that can mean that there's been some kind of exchange possibly. What other part is the family of the abducted? What other role do they play except to pay?
What do you make of the timing of it too? I mean, she has not posted she's done a couple interviews. She did one with Hoda. And then there's been, a couple moments where she's made mention of what's happened. But as far as, we saw a couple of these, very personal messages she put on Instagram at the beginning of this back in February, and she hasn't done it for months. What do you make of the fact that 5 months after the last time she posted something like this, here she is again? Does that tell you that there is that type of development, or maybe she's being coached by the FBI as opposed to just trying to keep this story in the news by posting a video that people are going to be talking about?
Well, I think you got a combination of things going on here. One thing, and I knew this as a watch commander working midnights in Area 2 homicide in Chicago, you would get phone calls on anniversaries of events, birthdays, milestones of when it happened, like anniversary dates of when the murders happened or whatever. And you would see certain milestones. 6 months is one of them. Savannah and Nancy's coming up on 6 months now.
Yep.
It'll be 6 months in a couple days. So it could be it's a milestone. It could be it's a 6 month thing. Let's make sure everybody's still talking about this, even though everybody is. But some of the verbiage in that note suggests that possibly she is getting some coaching from behavior analysis from the FBI.
Yeah, there are a couple of the lines. I just was pulling it up here, just from the verbatim of what she said. And I know you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you to do the right thing now, make the right choice, help us find her. It's just the idea of you tried to do things the right way. What do you make of that line?
Well, so if this is in fact was a kidnapping for ransom, You had to bring the person you kidnapped somewhere. My theory on this, or my thought on this, a possibility is this plea is going out to the person who possibly wrote note number two, or possibly was supposed to be the caregiver until this ransom was paid. You see what I mean there?
Yeah.
This is somebody who maybe was supposed to be taking care of this person, and obviously she died. Well, I believe she died. And maybe this is their appeal to this person, saying, listen, you've been trying to do the right thing with the second note, apologizing, whatever. I think nobody's ever tried to do the right thing when you kidnap an 84-year-old woman. That's ridiculous. But I'm thinking maybe there's trying to appeal on a third party in this.
Well, and the interesting thing too is, so NBC did a story today on Savannah's message that she put on her social media. And then you have like a quote from Chris Nanos, who's the sheriff in Pima County. Of course, he's been at the center of a lot of criticism of this case because you're the head guy in the county where all of this went down. And his quote was, we have so much DNA to sort through. We have so much in terms of video evidence to look at. But then like the line, which, of course, somebody's in an elected position is going to try to say like, hey, they're getting close. And I'm not saying that they aren't, but he says, I'm still positive we're going to resolve this case. Like resolve is just kind of an interesting word. And that's what stood out to me. Am I looking too far into it, kind of into the weeds of like word choice here? Or like when you say resolve in law enforcement, especially someone in the situation like Chris Nanos says, what does that mean to you?
Well, I've never used that word. I use cleared. We're going to clear the case. We're going to lock somebody up or whatever. Resolve the case. I mean, at this point, are we thinking? Here's one thing. I'm going to just hit one point. You said there's all this DNA and all this video. It's been 6 months. It's been 6 months, and well, I don't know that they have anything back, but they haven't released anything out to the public. And everything we sit here and talk about is all speculation because we don't know anything because we haven't seen the case file. But in 6 months, you should have something. If you have all this DNA evidence, you should have something. Now, I agreed you got to eliminate familial DNA and all that stuff, but something should be happening within 6 months. And resolve? What does that mean?
Let me be as fair as I can to the other side, because you deserve intellectual honesty, not a performance. The counterargument is that all of this is just grief. That there is no hidden message, that Savannah Guthrie is simply trying to keep her mother's case in the headlines 5 months after the world started to move on. That the phrase, tried to do things the right way, is a generic appeal to conscience, the kind of language you see in every missing person's plea. That, tell us where to look, is just a slightly different way of asking for her to be found, not a coded admission of death. And there is a version of this story where that argument holds. But it falls apart under the weight of the specific context. This family has access to the highest levels of the FBI. They have been advised by hostage negotiation experts. Their words have been chosen, workshopped, and calibrated for a specific audience of one. Every video Savannah has released has been scrutinized for signals. So when the language changes this dramatically, it is because the situation has changed. Not because she ran out of synonyms. The strongest version of the opposition argument is that the ransom notes were hoaxes, that there never was a negotiation, and that Savannah is simply a daughter in unimaginable pain, trying anything she can to reach a stranger. But if the notes were fake, law enforcement would have said so forcefully by now. They have not. They have called them unauthenticated. That leaves the door open. And that door is wide enough to drive a theory through. What I believe is happening, and I will not pretend this is certainty, only the most coherent picture the evidence permits, is that the Guthrie family and federal investigators now believe Nancy died shortly after her abduction. The DNA and video evidence the sheriff referenced may have already pointed toward a specific location or a specific outcome. Savannah's message was not a negotiation tactic. It was a final appeal to the person who was supposed to care for her mother during that 7-day window, the person who was supposed to release her once the funds arrived, the person who, in her words, tried to do things the right way. That person may now hold the only answer that matters, the location of her body. And that person is now being offered a path. Not absolution, but a chance to do what the family sees as the last right thing. Bring her home, even now. The forensic tools exist. CODIS, the National DNA Database, can match an unknown profile to a known offender. Genetic genealogy can narrow a suspect pool to a family tree with astonishing precision. Tower dump data can show every device that pinged within a radius of Nancy's home in the hours before and after she vanished. These are not theoretical capabilities. They are operational realities. The evidence is being processed. The science does not lie. What the science cannot do is compel a confession, and that is what Savannah's video is designed to do. It is a pressure release valve aimed at a conscience that may be fraying after 6 months of silence.
Publicly, are you surprised with all the resources the FBI has apparently put into this, along with the local sheriff's office, that it doesn't even seem like there's any sort of information about even where these ransom notes are potentially coming from? It still seems like it's up in the air whether or not they're actually legit.
Stunned. I'm stunned. Listen, I don't know how all that tracing works, but I know it gets traced. I know if I send an email, someone's going to find out where I sent the email from. Now, I know that there's ways to bounce it to different spots so you can't trace it directly, but this is the FBI. This is one of the best law enforcement agencies in the world with all the technology and all the funding. I can't, for the life of me, figure out how they don't know where these things were sent from. It's stunning to me. Now, hopefully they do, and they're not telling us, which is another hope that I have, is that they have a lot of information that they're just not releasing, and they don't have to release it. But I just worry that maybe they don't have as much as I hope they do, because I can't figure out why you wouldn't know where the Bitcoin, and they put some money into the Bitcoin to see if there was any movement on that. Nothing happened. They did pay something to that Bitcoin, if you remember, small amount of money to see if there was any action on it. And there's never been any.
I do not know when this case will break, but I know that the machinery behind the scenes is not stalled. It is grinding forward, deliberate and quiet. And when it produces an answer, you will hear it here, completely, without flinching. Nancy Guthrie deserves that. Her family deserves that. And so do you. Because you have carried this case with you for 6 months, wondering how an 84-year-old woman can be taken from her bed in the middle of the night and simply disappear. She did not disappear. Someone knows exactly where she is. And after that video, I believe that someone knows the clock is no longer ticking for a ransom. It is ticking for a reckoning.